to your next team, the Detroit Lions, and they don't mess around with character, and it shows up in each and every pick they made. Starts at the top with Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama, who they took 12th overall, and that was arguably the biggest surprise of the first round, including Will Levis falling. We'd heard about Will Levis potentially slipping a little bit. No one thought Jahmyr Gibbs, who was outside of that circle in Detroit, thought he was going to go that high. Jack Campbell, then they circle back and get him at 18. Tight end Sam Laporta, who we both liked a lot, and thought that maybe he sneaks to the first round, went high on day 2, went with a pick right after Will Levis, it turns out. Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama, goes pick 45. Another player that we thought had some first-round possibilities. And then Hendon Hooker at pick 68, the quarterback out of Tennessee, followed by Broderick Martin, Western Kentucky defensive lineman, who we've talked about on this podcast, and who I heard Pete just talk about in HQ in terms of how impressed he was with watching his tape as well. Then shout out to William & Mary, Colby Sorsdahl, the enormous offensive tackle there. I'm not sure where they're going to play him. He's a little raw, but that's to be expected coming out of the FCS. And then finally, Antoine Green, who the wide receiver out of UNC. And by the way, Debo, Pete insists that he told Rick about Antoine Green, and then Rick told his brother, and that's how the Lions came about drafting him. So
yeah, they had no one actually go down to North Carolina this year to scout that, or they did not talk about. He was an unknown until Pete. If he needs his ego filled, if that makes his ego feel better, then that's fine.
You don't have East Coast scouts, just Pete. So you're lucky. You're welcome for that. What do you think about this? What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, well, I think what they knew, what people did not know, was when they went and selected Jahmyr Gibbs, that they were getting ready to move on from Swift, and right after that, during the draft, they were able to trade him to Philly. Jack Campbell's just a rock solid football player. And then Laporta, who I think may have a chance to be one of the top, if not the top tight end coming out of this class as he continues to grow and mature. I thought Brian Branch was a steal in the second round. I believe they moved up to go get him. Look at what they were able to do in the secondary. It's Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yep.
And now you draft a Brian Branch. So they really, I thought, hit it out of the park, addressing the defensive needs this offseason they need to. And the other note is that the way Detroit does business, even though they are well-known, Hawkinson or Swift, if they do not intend to sign into extensions, they're not afraid to get a year more value out of them when they can trade them, and they have guys that are going to come in and replace them. So hats off to Brad Holmes and in that organization, because the hardest thing for a general manager is, and our rule of thumb was, get rid of a player a year early rather than a year late is always kind of the go-to. But I think all these guys that they came in, which one, I don't see one that's not going to potentially pay for him next year, in those first 4 or 5 picks. And Hendon Hooker, I think, was a great pick where they got him. He can sit and learn, fits the personality and the leadership that they want at that position. So I think it's they knocked it out of the park. Only guy I did not know, and I didn't even know Bill and Mary played football there, but they still do, was the only one that I didn't see on tape.
He might end up being the Hall of Famer of the crew. I'm just saying it now.
Well, he can go right next to you in that baseball Hall of Fame.
We'll be going together to Cooperstown. That's the only time you're going to see me in the baseball Hall of
Fame. Yeah, and William and Mary's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not there. But I'll check. I'll just double check. You don't want to miss out on something like that.